That's one brush width, the width of my brush. Skinny side. Make sense? Wide side, skinny side. Okay, and same with the medium brush. A little bit of black paint there. The wide side. And the skinny side. So whenever I'm saying wide side or skinny side, that's what I mean, right there. Now, I also want to talk about how to hold your little tiny brush and how to get some skinny lines on all of these brushes. It all has to do with taking your time and how hard you're pressing against the canvas. Okay, so little tiny brush, I always hold mine really close to the bristles, nice and close. You have more control over that way. If you're holding your paintbrush way back here and trying to do a little skinny line, well, first off, your hand's gonna have a little twitch in it because you're trying to get it straight. It's not quite gonna work. And you don't really have control as well. This is just what I've learned. I could be wrong, but this is just my own personal experience with all of this. So I like to hold mine really close to those bristles, because then you have control over that. You can move it just a little bit or a whole bunch. And then you can also feel how hard you're pressing against the canvas. You can pull it off. You just have, better feel for it. So I also lightly dip my brush in a little tiny touch of water before I pick up some black. I'm gonna move this cup out of the way. But when I say lightly, I mean like just, see how it's barely going in that water? Barely. And then over to some black paint. And we've got that little bit on there. Now there is a little hair sticking out of my brush right there. We'll just roll that together. So all I did is on the side of my cup or plate is I just rolled it. Oh, it's still sticking out there. That's all right, maybe I'll just cut them off after. So when you're doing skinny lines, like I said, it's all pressure and how much you're pushing onto the canvas and how lightly that brush is touching it. So if you go quick and you push very hard, it's a pretty thick line, eh? But if you take your time, and you might want to practice this just on like a scrap piece of paper or cardboard, it doesn't have to be on a canvas, just anything so that you can practice getting the pressure. If we take our time and we go lightly, we can get a skinny black line. Let me try and move my hands so that you guys can see that. Lightly and slowly. And the lighter you press, the skinnier your line will be. So if you're going to practice this, I would suggest a piece of paper, a piece of cardboard, and basically rest your hand right on the canvas. That's what I'm doing. My hand's not off the canvas, it's right on the canvas. So I'm using that to steady my hand. It's called grounding your hand when you put your hand on the canvas or when you have your pinky on the canvas. And just practice some skinny little lines. So I'm dipping my brush in a little bit of water, a little bit of black paint. Just try short ones. Don't try and go too long. So just short little line, move over. Short little line, move over. And keep going. And then you can see, you can feel how much you need to press, right? You'll feel the difference. Try just a row of lines like that. Nice, quick, simple little thing you can practice every now and then when you've got a scrap piece of paper, maybe a little bit of paint lying out. Because after you get the skinny little lines, then you can start adding like curves into them. So this is where I rest my hand. And we're going to start curving those lines. Then practice some of those. So you start practicing straight lines, then start practicing some curved ones. Then throw in a couple more. Make them a little bit more elaborate and a little bit more elaborate. Little bits at a time, okay? You want to start off with those straight lines first. And then keep going. See, I pressed a little bit harder there, so that's a little bit thicker. That's all right. This is kind of the technique we use for making tree branches. But you should practice off your straight lines first, then just practice some curves. Then we can start practicing those. And I'll go into more detail on tree branches on a later episode here. But that is our little skinny brush. Now the same does apply for our medium brush with skinny little lines. We can still use the skinny side and press very lightly. And even though we're using that medium brush, see how those lines, they're pretty much the same thickness. Some curved ones. Now doing curved lines with your medium brush is a little bit different because as you're moving, your brush is turning. But it just gives you different looks. And yes, the same thing can be done with the large brush. It's very rare that I'll do skinny lines with my large brush, just because I find the medium and the small has better control. But it is done the same way. You can use a large brush for some more like little twisty action. Some different techniques. Play with it a little bit. Find yourself a piece of cardboard and go slow and just try and lightly turn your brush every now and then. See what the brush does. Just practice. Just practice and playing with it. And it just takes a few minutes and a little piece of cardboard and you can really find out what those brushes can do. So I hope that helps you guys. Thank you very much.